everyone. I'm very happy to find you, all of you, again for a new Mugi's Prime Time. And once again, we are in for a treat tonight. It's a meta talk about the Fangbooth 4th edition, the tournament of the EU scene that has spun like last weekend. And tonight I will be joined by two amazing special guests. I have This Belgium joining us, and we have GeronimoJak also from the PCC crew. How are you guys doing tonight?
Belgian, you take it away since I'm the guest star from NA.
I'm doing very well. Thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to this.
Doing pretty good myself, Mugi. Thanks for having us on. I see Lance already in chat. I don't know if you guys ever you guys have spent time with Lance, but this guy is everyone's biggest fan. Is the best way to describe him.
I have to admit,
I know he is
last time he was on the show, he just he put a smile on everyone's face every time he talked. I feel like it's amazing.
Yeah, Lance is everyone's biggest fan, which makes everyone the biggest fan of Lance. It's pretty great.
So for those that don't know, the Meta Talk is where we discuss the past event of the most recent tournament, where we go as a desk of analysts over the result of the tournament, how it was held, all of that. And also on the second part of the show, we will have a lot of data analysis, and we can go into later more detail about the peak rate of every single heroes, the ban rate, the win rate, but also what item was favored by all the players. And so I can't wait to go into all of that. But first, a little feedback on what was the Fangbooth 4th edition, what was the format. And for this Fangbooth 4th edition, we basically got 7 teams that sign up. Well, to be fair, it's more 5 teams that sign up, and we have 2 makeup team. I will ask later, just after that, This Belgium, how this process work. That just joined for a loser bracket, a winner-loser bracket format, where most of the early game were played in the best of 1, and then we have the later stage of the game being into best of 3, and the grand final in a best of 5 format. There was also a little smaller prize pool than the PCC event, but still a prize pool nonetheless, with 170 euros or dollar. I don't remember exactly for the first team. And also Omeda Studios sharing some legendary and epic bundle asset for the second and third place. And so there was some stuff to compete for, and it was an event spanning over 2 days. It was the Saturday and the Sunday. Basically they got very, very great match. So I mentioned Belgium, this idea of makeup team. Can you go a little bit over that, because I think that you were the guy in charge of making those team up?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was me, Swan and Tails mainly. So we had people in the Discord for FTC. We had people that could post themselves looking for a team, right? And one of the things that we really wanted to change is actually putting these guys in a team. So what we did, we took 6-7 people, their names, we put them together. We started to enforce a bit, hey guys, we put you guys together, check out which roles, talk a bit to each other, play a few games, see if you guys like each other. And that's what they did. And we're kind of surprised the 2 teams that we had actually kicked it off really well. They started playing each other, they did scrims with each other, and it was really nice to see what came out of it. And it surprised me as well, right? Because I don't think that these guys are the best of the best players, but the willingness to compete and to actually play together was a lot of fun to watch. And they were definitely my favorite teams, going in there. Definitely my favorite teams. I was rooting for them, so
I mean, you did pick them. They're kind of your babies.
Yeah, kind of, yeah. So I had to. Of course, I also spent time with them. So when they were doing scrims, obviously I helped them in the scrims as well. I subbed in for 1 or 2 games. And then afterwards I did file reviews with them. See, okay, hey guys, you have maybe work on this. Don't do this, don't do that. And it was fun. It was fun because they really appreciate it as well.
I really like this idea of the Fangbooth tournament, that even if you're not yet into the competitive scene and you don't have found a team yet, that can give you a first test of what competitive scene are, and also find other like-minded name in the community, and maybe that could stir up some teams for the future event. Who knows, that would be very interesting to see. And also it kind of make up a little bit the numbers, because we can see on EU we kind of have a less active competitive scene, I would say, compared to NA that have most of the time like a lot of teams competing here. So it's also like a good way to like find up some new talent for the future. So very nice. So you can see on screen that we have like all the 7 teams that actually participated. I took like the 5 player that played the most on their role because it was like something that was very, very strange to me, like in this tournament. Like there was like so many subs everywhere. I felt like I remember like last week, it was like a long time ago, but on the PCC, I remember like GeronimoJak, you kind of mentioned that they had like a lot of like change before the event. But while the event kickstarted on the final day, like it was always like the same players playing almost, I felt like here in EU, like in Immune, we got Iro twice coming back from retirement to just like play the grand final and just being put up on the display like that. On Lightning Coke, we have like a lot of different like players that actually play. We got Baku, we also got Eat Play. So there was like a 7-man roster. We also like got something similar, I think, on Lobber's Angel, that we got the appearance of Lobbers. Like it's called Lobber's Angel, but Lobber not like played quite many games. But then we got Tails that was like subbing for them. So like a lot of subs during the tournament, and that was kind of surprising to me. Any takes on that?
Go ahead, Jack.
Oh, me. So like I mean, just full transparency. I was asked to help cast the tournament, and I was out of town up until like the last hour or two before I was asked to cast the finals. So I didn't check out too much. It's nice to see an NA team popping up, and some of these names I am mildly familiar with. I know Purple Swan. I'm familiar with Cautionary Tales, Dr. Snoop. We'll talk about it later, but I got to watch Vision go up against Immune, and there was a lot of kind of like interesting things in seeing how that one played out, because Immune, like, they haven't even dropped a game until the 4th tournament, right? And that was the first time, from my understanding, that's what I've been told. So seeing how that game went with the one game where they did drop the game, definitely was, interesting for me, and something I'm happy to talk about very, very soon. But
nice. Like some cracks on the side of Immune, apparently, that we can maybe like go over. So to give like a little bit of random trivia facts, like as I always like to provide them, and that will be interesting because now we have like 2 events that we have done like meta talk on, so we can like a little bit compare like some data on that and just having like a good time. So this time it was like 18 matches, so like 1 more matches than the PCC final phase. Like this doesn't mean anything, it's just like the matches that were played, and we got like almost like 9 hours of play time. This time it was a little less bloody, like only like 633 euro dying in the tournament, and we were just shy of the 3 million euro damage mark. Like we were just missing like 25k. We were getting close, but at least we got over the 2 million gold during the whole tournament, 1,700 awards. And here, like an interesting fact when we compare like the PCC data to the Fangbooth data is like the Fangtooth like got destroyed on the PCC, like 62 Fangtooth being killed, but here only like 51 Fangtooth with 1 more matches. So like EU team like not focusing that much those Fangtooth, but in terms of mini prime, it's kind of even, like 28 to 25. But on the Ore Prime, actually like on the PCC we're at 19 Ore Primes, where on the Fangbooth we got like 24. So a lot more Ore Prime being taken. So let's move out into like the bracket, and here we can discuss a little bit like about the matches, what we were expecting. So let's kind of start out like with you, like Belgium, about like what were you expecting like the final result to be on the tournament, and what you were going when you get into like at the beginning of the event.
Well, I think the entire tournament kind of panned out the way I thought it was gonna go. I was really happy that there was an NA team in it. I think that really, like, it also brings over the NA crowd, right? And that's kind of what we wanted when we sat down with guys from the PCC. And I'm really happy that these guys, props to them, by the way, for joining, because I hate playing on ping. I've done it myself as well. It's annoying. But now they can at least feel how Immune feels when they have to play on ping. But I feel like it went really like the way I thought it was gonna go. Because looking at the teams, I knew that Immune probably was gonna get into the final. Probably the second best team that I knew was going to be Vision, because their players are also pretty cracked, right? But the one team that really stood out for me was Lightning Coke. I think that these guys really surprised me in a way that I saw them popping off against Lakeinator's boys. And it surprised me like how well these guys all of a sudden started playing, and it was really fun to watch. But I think the final was really spicy. Although sadly enough we couldn't show the last part, but I was watching it live on the client itself, and it was really spicy. Like, it was a really good match. So
yeah, it's really unfortunate. There was a whole replay system wipe at that moment across the whole server too. It wasn't just the one game bugging out. It was just the unfortunate timing of everything going down at the worst possible time. But to comment, like, it's really nice seeing NA teams and EU teams kind of jump the pond. I know PCC it's not an NA tournament and it's open to anyone. It's just convincing other people to go across and play like on a ping that's going to be 2 or 3 times slower than what they're actually used to playing or what they ever actually need to play. It's like, well, what's the incentive of doing that, right? Unless it's like a really big event. So seeing Lake and Grady are the exact kind of people who'd be willing to do that, and then they'd convince Guru and Soul Reaper, because those guys are just there to have a good time a lot of the time. Like, they're good players, but they're there to have fun as well. So that I'm happy, and I'm not surprised that out of all the people to join an EU tournament, it would be them. But seeing how like the community, the word across the community is that Immune is kind of like the de facto team. Like, they can win a tournament even in NA on ping. So what does that say for the competition on their home turf, right? Like, you got to do a lot just to be able to get a game away from them, let alone compete at their standards. So it makes sense that they were able to do what they did. And I wasn't able to watch many other games at that point as well. But seeing, like I said, my big focus is going to be seeing Vision and Immune play.
Yeah, I have to get that. With you, I'm on the same page. Like, for me, like, Team Immune was going to win it all. Like, so far in EU, there wasn't like any reason to think otherwise. I was like also happy to see like the NA boys and discovering like what it was going to happen. Like we said, like, it's playing on another ping, and even if the ping is not like horrible, sometimes it's like some like top players like actually remind me about that. Is like actually playing on a ping that you're not used to. It's actually like the fact that you're changing your ping that is actually like kind of jarring for those players. So it's very, very hard to actually play on another ping. So really a big shout out to the NA players like joining the tournament. And also they had to kind of find like a team synergy, because like it's basically like Dirty Like and the boys and a few guys of Professor that kind of meshed together. Like Nitro had to play on an off role, like he was playing support, which is not like his main role at all. So like there is like a lot of things that really like they really wanted to be there for the tournament, and I really commend them for that. But of course they couldn't like perform at the level like of Team Immune coming for the full roster on an NA event. Of course, we don't expect like the same level of success with this type of situation. But I was really like excited. Like, of course, I thought like Team Immune was going to win. But really, like after that, like there was like Vision, Ronin, this NA mix. We got like Lightning Coke. We had like all those teams, like Lover's Angel also coming back. And all of those teams, like I really thought that they never competed together in a tournament, and so I was like really asking myself like, but who is better? Like I know that Ronin like actually screamed quite a lot in preparation for the tournament. Lover's Angel was most of the time like always like the second seed in those tournaments when they participated, but I still feel like this second place was up to the taking for any of those teams. And so it was actually interesting that I had been like actually like very impressed by the performance of Vision there. Like they really felt like a very solid team, and they like even like managed to kind of shake up a little bit like Immune in that regard. So here I know that Jack, you were willing to maybe share something on that, so we can like kick up with that part, because Team Vision versus Immune, that's in the end like 5 games between those two teams, between like the semi-final winner bracket and the grand final at the end of the tournament.
So one thing I was noticing with Immune, they were playing a lot slower than I expected them. I'm also noticing some definitive play patterns coming out of them. Is they like to play very, very calm and calculated for the first 10 minutes of the game. You will not see them really do much for the first 10 minutes of the game. They won't go for Raptor. They won't do, anything outside of a couple rotations, maybe a pick or two. They're just going to sit there and try and farm, trade, get like maybe a minion advantage, and then maybe, the odd pick. And once that 10-minute mark hits, then they're going to go for Fangtooth, and then they're going to start setting up jungle vision. And then once they do that, like what we saw in the game against Vision was that specific process. The score went from 1-3, which isn't so bad because they were even in CS. The ball, every single game, there wasn't more than a 40-30 CS, 40 or 50 CS difference across both teams. That's not a big difference. However, that 1-3 turned into 1-6, turned into 1-9, and suddenly now you're like, wait, why are we losing? Like nothing has actually happened in this game.
Yeah.
So and then the game ended. I believe it was like 1 or 2-20 or something like that. It was bonkers.
Yeah. Only tank dying one time, like the feeder of Team Immune. The only death like here on there. Almost clean sheet in this first match in the grand final.
Yeah. So it's like, how do you get there going from even CS to not making any real like extensive plays to there being no kills in the game to 1-20? Like where does that transition happen? Because it doesn't happen right away in that
macro.
game.
It's mostly about the macro. I think especially their macro is just compared to all the other teams, it's just way better. I think what you see in NA as well, and if you compare EU to NA, because obviously what I see in NA as well, like you said it before, they go for these early Fangtooths, but I feel like NA games are kind of more Clan Fiesta-ish, where it's like they like to battle a lot and they fight a lot, and it's less about the macro, but it's more like the micro, I guess.
Yeah.
Where they just keep on fighting. They keep on fighting. As to where in 20 minutes there will be 5 kills in EU, and in NA there's already like almost 20 kills, right? There's a huge difference, and I think that's where Immune is like pretty good at. It's like getting these small advantages, like CS difference, right? Getting the vision. Okay, we get 1 pick. Okay, we can force Fangtooth here. If they come, we have a man advantage. We force a fight. We win. We wipe them. Okay, we get 2 picks at minute 20. Oh, let's force a prime. If they come, we immediately turn and we get a wipe and we get free prime, right? I think it's once these guys start getting their macro rolling, it's really hard to stop them because they're just so relentless and so on point with each other to know what they're doing, right?
Right.
It's hard to stop. Once that train starts going, it's hard to stop them. And that's really bonkers compared to like the other teams. But I feel like now with the teams that we have, I hope that if they keep on scrimming and they keep on VOD reviewing and they keep on watching, that these teams actually stay together and they actually start doing the same. And that we're finally getting an EU scene where teams are staying together and improving together and not mental booming after like 1 game and then staying together and doing this as well. And once that starts going, we have a very competitive scene here in the EU.
Yeah, because we saw it like, and like you said, it is effectively a macro strategy, because if you were to look at the stat block through that entire game, it was actually quite close for quite some time, right? Even if you drop a Fangtooth, a pick, or this or that, it's not that big of a deal. However, when the score was, I believe, 1-6, 1-7, Immune just owned the jungle. The big fatal mistake was Richter in game 1 trying to go for a level 2 gank right off his buff, and he got nothing for it. And right from the get-go, Clearcast goes, "Oh, I'm going to invade off that," and that was the game. Yeah, especially since they weren't able to pick up anything off of it from the Richter gank. Then it's like, well, I just blew my clear, I just blew my this, my that, and I have nothing. While the other guy is now going to be level 4 by the time I get to 3, right? So
yeah, that's something that Team Immune is very strong at. Is like, this is why like you see like the top players most of the time that say like, yeah, don't go for the level 2 gank that you go for your solo queue when you go in competitive, because if the team is like strong, they will just punish you by invading your jungle, and so maybe you get like 1 lane ahead, but you probably like lose a big portion of your jungle, and you're gonna like get like they're gonna trade this tempo that you're winning somewhere on the map somewhere else on the map, where like most of the time in solo queue, like people, they don't trade that tempo, and you see like, oh, it's super strong strategy. I still think that there is like some merit and some value, but here definitely like we see that Venom managed to take like the red buff after that, and they take the red buff once again, and it was like very, very, very rough on that side. I really like talking like about others, like maybe others team. Like one team that for me kind of underperformed in that tournament was Lauber's Angel. Like I really like expected them to like be a force to be command with, and they even dropped a game against like Lightning Coke that actually like was a makeup team that managed to like force like Lauber's Angel in their like last resort in a sense, and it's kind of give me hope like for the whole EU scene this aspect, because I feel like Lauber's Angel is a team of strong player, but they don't like practice as much as the other team that we have seen in the tournament, and so that it's kind of like maybe we kind of reaching like the plateau of like if you don't keep playing and you don't keep practicing, like the other teams are gonna to catch up to you.
Yeah, I think that's true. But I like obviously I know them, and they indeed never really played a lot with each other, right? They did like scrims here and there, but to still see that these guys are not playing a lot with each other and still competing the way they did,
Sure.
I think it's kind of insane. I even saw Purple Swan bringing out Kira mid, where I was like, oh, what are you doing? And he pulled it off, and it worked well. So it just goes to show how good these guys actually are, right? Also, they weren't playing in their respective roles. I think we had Tails playing off lane. Tails already said before, like, I don't like playing off lane, but he still did it, right? Yeah. And then you have Dark Lord, obviously, who is new to the team. Who hasn't played a lot of games with them. Also performing really well. I really enjoyed this guy's jungle, so they still performed like as I thought. But obviously, with what you said, Mugi, the skill ceiling being higher these days, it's if you don't keep on playing with each other, it's kind of getting hard. Yeah.
Yeah. I think, yeah. Go ahead, Jack.
No, go ahead.
Sure. So, like, I really like agree with like I feel like the Dark Lord. I didn't know that player before this tournament, and I feel like he's really have a lot of potential. He need to grow up a little bit as a players, because like on terms of the competitive aspect, there's like sometimes like not a perfect decision that can cost quite a lot. But I think it's just like comes from inexperience in the competitive environment of Predecessor. But like on the mechanics and all, like actually like creating like chances for his team is actually like been like very, very impressive for first appearance in a tournament. So I'm just like expecting to just like 2 more weeks of practice, finding like all these little things about like the competitive 5v5 of Predecessor to become really a force to be reckoned with. Also, like on Lauber's Angel, like you said, like Tails was playing offlane, Dark Lord was kind of new in the jungle, but it was like all over the place. Like I've watched like the data, and sometimes Tails, I think like he played offlane, but he also played mid lane, because sometimes they switch with Purple Swan, because I think Purple Swan can't play Gideon and on the mid lane on the controller. So when they pick Gideon, they have to switch the roles. I think there was like even like sometime Lauber was there, but Medboy was not available, so they put the Dark Lord on carry, and like it was all over the place, their draft and their role during the whole tournament. And here I also like kind of see like going further, like role switching like that will have their limit, I think, in the future, because especially on the offlane, like offlane is such a complex role that you need to have a lot of knowledge on every single matchup, and you can't just like switch it all around, because I think you're gonna fall behind other offlaner, especially when you have like such strong offlaner like Nisa in the scene or Tang. Like you can't just like go there and expect it to go like very great if you don't practice and have a lot of training on it.
I mean, as far as Lauber's Angel is concerned, it's like, how can the team predict what you're doing if you can't predict what you're doing either, right? Like,
it's true. It's true. That's a fair point. That's a fair point.
Like if you're constantly role swapping, like role swapping has its place, and I'm going to use League of Legends as a reference point here because it's the best one I got. We saw G2 for a couple of years have a role swapping champions with Caps and Perks. They just were able to like go back and forth between mid and ADC. You never really knew who was doing what, and that changed the hero pool you'd have to worry about going up against, right? So suddenly now you have to worry about 3 times the size of the average hero pool than you would normally, and double the amount of play styles. However, that also, like you said, limits you. Right now, it's not so bad because we only have 25 heroes, I think, in Predecessor. So there isn't all that much, and most heroes can flex pick. So everyone needs general knowledge of a lot of different things. It's okay. However, once the game starts hitting 40, 50 heroes, then it's going to be like, well, I need to start specializing and knowing my matchups more, because there's more than literally 2 matchups at that point that you have to worry about.
Mm-hmm.
And then regarding like another team, we already like kind of talk about the fact that to me, at least personally, and apparently like also like Belgium, I think was like kind of quite impressed. Is like I felt like Lightning Coke actually like overperformed in that tournament, and in a sense, I kind of feel like it's like from watching their games like during the whole week, like I feel like Lightning Coke is actually a team that is very hard to play against, because those guys, like, they have no fear. They just press W every single time during the whole game. They just like brawl 24/7. They don't care. Is it a smart move? Like, they don't care. They just go for it, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. And I feel like it must be like very hard when you actually like a team, you have to prepare, you've done some scrims, and like people are playing kind of normal Predecessor, and you face like those guys that just like don't care and just press W. Like, in a sense, it must be a little bit fearsome. And maybe like Dirty Lake and the boys like got a little bit caught off of like this non-stop aggression that, in a sense, is even like stronger than some team in NA. I feel like from those guys, it was like Manq is just like playing under your tower the whole time. Like Endo was just also chasing in the jungle like 24/7. Like it was very, very aggressive playstyle all over the map. And Moros is the guy that don't know what is the reset button. Like it just goes in all the time.
Never hits me.
I think Manq as well, right? Manq as well is just like he keeps on W keying, and it's so fun to watch. It's stressful to play against, because this guy he keeps on queuing and RMBing in your face when he gets Gideon. But it was so much fun to watch these guys. I enjoyed it.
It was similar going up against Lakeinator before everyone realized that, you know, he was having some keyboard issues and keyboard input issues. But like that guy would run at you, and he just didn't, like, he's playing objectively bad, but is still just, you know, I mean, we know why now, but at the time you're just like, how is this happening? This shouldn't work, and yet it does. Which, to go into my follow-up point, is during the finals, I said one of my favorite strategies is when you're going up against players that you know are good or know are better than you, just play objectively bad. Mash that W key and start playing like an animal. Because when you do that, a lot of people at higher elo, everyone in their elo bracket is expecting the game to go a certain way. And that is also how people are separated. But it's part of your muscle memory and your subconscious as well. So when you're a higher level player and you go, wait, why is that person doing Dragon? That's awful right now. There's no reason why they should be doing it. And then they do it, and then they get it, and they do that 2 or 3 more times. And you're like, wait, why did I lose that game? It's that. It is all that. You are just playing against this person's understanding of a game at a higher level by completely bamboozling them and using no brain.
Yeah, I agree. Like, you have to take some risk when you actually want to beat like the higher rated team, in a sense. But apparently, like Lance was saying that it was maybe like Legionnaire we're willing to talk about and not Lakeinator. I don't know exactly like here what is going on NA, but yeah, it's a good way to surprise people.
I meant Legionnaire. We had a fellow named
he said Lakeinator.
He got hit by a suspension for having some keyboard issues. And yeah, but going against him at the time without realizing that was the problem, you're just like, he just run at you into the jungle, and there was nothing you could stop it. And you're like, why is this one ADC player in my jungle alone with his team halfway across the map, just, you know, dodging everyone? Cool, I guess. But yeah.
Yeah, it's really like a fearsome strategy, and you kind of have to keep your head cool, because in the end it's like basically just a gambit, in a sense. Like, you just try to make something, and if the enemy team call your bluff, like, you're gonna be in a bad spot. But like, there's like a whole like thing about like the pressure and actually like not leaving time to the enemy to react. Like over relentless pressure is actually like a good strategy in MOBAs, especially when teams are not like completely like well established, because it's very, very hard to react to that over relentless pressure in a sense. So I would like also like to talk on maybe like one of the big things, which is like Team Immune dropping a game. Like in a sense, like for that game, to give like back a little bit of context, it was the grand final. Team Immune was already like 2-0 up, because they got already like 1 game win and 1 game from coming from the winner bracket. So like Team Vision was like, they're back against the wall. But it's also like the moment that Venom, like Ven, the jungler for Team Immune, had to step out because of work. And IR had to come out of retirement without having played a single game for a long time to just like be put into the grand final on display on everyone. And so here we had like a very like nice fight between Team Immune and Team Vision. And finally Team Vision like taking a game out of Team Immune in a EU tournament. So it was very, very impressive. And to be fair, I felt like the Team Vision like had good control most of the early game. Like they played very well like their early stage. Still, one of the weaknesses of Team Vision in this tournament is like they kind of have been a little bit weak on securing like objective with the early pressure. And so like Team Immune still managed to get like the first Fangbooth and first mini prime of that game despite like being pressure on the early stage. And then it was kind of like the moment that Team Immune like started to get ahead in the game. And finally like Team Vision finding like a good counter engage on an AWP prime being taken by Team Immune, stalling the AWP prime, killing like 3 or 4 people, and then they turned the game around and they never let the pressure go and they finally like won that game. So it was very, very impressive display, and kind of show like Team Vision, I think in the future like will be really a force to be reckoned with, and probably like a very good screen partners for Team Immune in the future as well.
When I saw that team being formed, I was like, yeah, okay, this is gonna be a good team because obviously they're all really good players, right? But especially in the final when Immune dropped that game, I think it was kind of a jungle diff because not necessarily that Roar was playing bad, but I just think Crunch in that regard was a really bad pick.
Yeah,
I think
he drafted himself out of the game there.
Yeah, Crunch was unplayable in that game. I talked about this with MT as well after the tournament. Like the only way that could have pulled off is if Roar was a one trick of Crunch, and then maybe it would have been fine. But yeah, that Crunch pick was just very bad. And then the next game he had Richter, right, and then he was smurfing it again. So
and that also took Richter away from Vision,
Llama,
right?
From Llama, yeah.
Llama, because I'm pretty sure I had the tournament on in the background here and there, and I saw Llama, or I heard his name, and Richter be very synonymous throughout the entire tournament. And Immune kind of just let him have it for the first game, and they let him have it for the second game. And on the third one, they're like, you know what, let's just cryo pick it away from him, and they don't have to worry about it anymore. And Richter's a strong champion. I'm sure Roar Twice and both Venom know how to play the champion to a strong enough degree, right? So they'll be able to utilize it and take away the guy's big pick.
Yeah, I really enjoyed like watching Team Vision as well. But obviously, like Mugi said, like their objective play was kind of meh. Because I saw them like go in for I don't think this was in the final, but I remember seeing them. They got a team wipe, or they got like 3 picks. Instead of resetting and going for Prime immediately, they went for the inhib, which was also fine play. But instead of then resetting and going for Prime, they immediately went for Prime, and then they got wiped because they were still pretty low. And it's stuff like that is like it comes with experience, right? Like the correct macro play, it just comes with experience. And if you keep on screaming Immune, or just in general other teams, like you will eventually you will see it, right? But these are just little things, and they can definitely improve on that, right? They're really good. So
I think Vision's biggest props needs to be the absolute iron will of a mental they had to go in a finals game against one of the best teams in the game. You drop 1-20, and then the next game you like that, and that doesn't phase you. The next game you actually come back and manage to hold on and get a win. Like game one, if you're a competitive environment and you go you can't even get more than 1 kill in a competitive environment, especially in the finals. Majority of players are just, you know what, like screw this. I'm dropping my keyboard. I'm I'm out, mentally checked out. I'm just fulfilling my body. My body's here. My brain is not. But they actually managed to come out on top after that, right?
Yeah. And Venom in the chat, like, I wasn't there, a team fell apart, like, kind of thinking highly of himself. But to be fair, like, at the previous meta talk, we kind of hyped, like, Venom during the tournament, and he kind of delivered. Like, every single game he was part of, like, Team Immune, like, won, and in a pretty, like, decisive fashion. So, Venom, like, actually, like, his first tournament appearance, like, going for a very, very good showing there. Also, like, want to think, like, you talk a little bit about this Rictor pick on the side of Vision, and that's something also I kind of really liked about Vision in this tournament, as I felt like they came prepared with draft ideas. Like, they really had like some ideas about like, we don't care about the Sevrog, we can leave the Sevrog to the enemy team. That will be like a priority pick for most of the team, because we know that Nysa, like, is gonna crush the Sevrog whether he's playing Crunch or Fengmao, so we are fine to leaving that open. But on another sense, like, we want to kind of prioritize the Rictor when the Rampage is not available, because Rictor is a very, very strong pick. And so they really had all this nice idea around what they were willing to draft. And sometimes it kind of cost them like a little bit, like they got surprised in a game against Immune when Immune like removed like all mages off the board, and that kind of cost them quite a lot. But I really like that most of the team kind of pick like, what is the comfort pick? And they think about the draft when they're in the draft, where Vision like really prepare on that phase of the game. And the draft can be like easily like 50% of the game won if you like completely outdraft the enemy team. So I think they're very, very smart in that regard, and they kind of show like other team how it can be made. Actually, like came prepared and with a plan. So, yeah.
No, and we saw a few games like get won at draft, right? Like we were talking about earlier in game 2, Rar twice picks Crunch into the most anti-Crunch team comp you could possibly think of. And he doesn't get to play the game. He literally doesn't get to play the game because I as a Crunch 1 trick, you're like, it's not that bad. It's just a Bellica. It's not that bad. It's just one silence. It's not that bad. And then you dash in, you think you can get around it, and then you don't. And then another stun comes through, and then another stun comes through, and you're just like, why did I die? And it comes to the point where like, there's been games where I played as Crunch where I'm literally like 10-0. I have all the items I need and tank. I still get blown up as if I'm an underfed carry, and it makes no sense to me. But it just, Crunch is a draft reliant champion by the looks of it, and that is what happened.
Yeah, I think as well one player that I really enjoyed like during the tournament is Tang. I think Tang especially got a lot of bad matchups where he was kind of like the punching bag of the team. And I felt really bad for him, and I must imagine like how he felt, but he's just cracked out of his mind. Like the way this guy plays bad matchups on offlane, it's just insane. Like going up against Nysa already itself is really hard, I guess. I've never played against the guy, but then like going against this guy in a losing matchup and still coming out ahead is it's kind of good, right? The only thing he just doesn't need to do, he knows as well, like he doesn't need to run it down, and his team will win it on the other side for him if he gets a bad matchup. But yeah, really outstanding performance from this guy.
Right.
That's something that is also like, I think like one of the big strengths of Immune is if sometimes like your offlaner has a bad like moment, like you know that Neft can step up to carry, MT can step up to carry, like Tank can step up to carry. And so in that regard, like every single lane on Immune can just like turn the game around, and that's super scary to face. And also that gives like a lot of confidence, because like you know that you're not here to actually like make the flashy pale, just like playing slow, like you said, like you're in a losing matchup, like Tank know that you can just wait, and probably his team is gonna make something happen somewhere else on the map. So that's also like something that also like help those players not having to actually like try to make something happen in a bad situation, because they know the rest of the team, they can like really rely on them.
Right.
So any additional fact that you want to add like on the bracket overall like tournament before we jump into like the data section of the talk?
You're the fact man, Mugi. You got, I mean, if you got any, let us know, because like I mean, seeing Rampage be picked tournament after tournament, 100% pick ban, Sevrog 100% pick ban.
Yeah.
Same with Decker. Decker is taking that status too now. Like, just it's funny because Rampage is a champion that relies on two things. He needs his ultimate, and he needs to land a rock. If you don't do either one, if you don't land the rock, you're barely competent. And then if you don't have your ultimate, you're just as easy to kill as a carry a lot of the time. So it's interesting to see how much that champion can't exert pressure-wise on the map, despite him kind of having that like 1-2 pigeonhole role. And yeah.
I think Rampage is just a weird character where like, or just a very strong character in general, because you have like once you get 6 and having that RQ combo, like just throwing that instant rock and having a 2-second stun, which can lead to a follow-up stun. It's just so good.
With
I
the
don't
bounce
think there's.
also.
Yeah, his ulti, he gets so big. Like, just imagine. I don't know if you guys have played carry, and then all of a sudden
just
there's a
your whole
rampage in the enemy
screen.
team, right? And he ults and he jumps over your entire team just to stand in front of you. He presses Razorback, and you can't do anything, right?
Yeah.
It's the most frustrating thing ever. And then, especially with the rock coming in as well, like he jumps over the team and then stuns you in your face and also damages you as well. I mean, it's just such a strong pick.
PTSD right now.
Yeah, I hate the champ so much. I can't stand it, but it's I know Venom loves to play it, and I despise him for it. It's insane, and that's why it's obviously always banned, right? I think Seb as well. Just Seb is such a strong character, and I don't think his laning phase is too bad in any matchup. Like, I think only the crunch one is like pretty bad, right? But if you're proficient on Seb, as like a lot of these offlaners are, I think it's really hard to like mess up, because once you start getting to like 90 stacks on your passive, around the 20-minute mark, nobody's gonna be able to outrate you, I feel like. So I see why these champs are just 100% big ban rate.
One thing that Canner did bring up in chat is that Sparrow has a 0% pick rate.
Yeah.
Champions being completely just taken out of the game. Like, what do you do with her? She has no mobility. On hit doesn't really exist, and any champ, like, you can just shut her down in so many different ways. Even though, like, she can't, if she gets ahead or if she gets to play the way she wants to play. Probably the most frustrating carry to play against, right? But you don't ever see her.
You can't, because everything can jump on you. Every character has like a dash that can reach you, like especially from like mid laners, because I think mages at the moment are really strong. Like if a Gideon jumps on you and ults, like you either have to blink, you don't have a dash, like you can maybe go your crest, but then you're investing your crest as well. Like you can't do anything. Rampage jumping on you, Feng Mao jumping on you, Chimera jumping on you. There's not a lot you're going to be able to do. If you have like a really good peel, sure. It's the same like Faye. Faye you can't play as well, because everything can just jump on you. You either have to blink and that's it, and you're dead. You can just be run down for the next 5 minutes. It's really hard.
Stat check them and just hope to God you do more damage than they do to you at that point.
Yeah, but now with the recent, and I see Empty saying it now, with the recent buffs with Sparrow, I think with Face, I think you'll see Sparrow way more, because she has a lot more survivability, which is true. I really love playing Sparrow, but I just can't, because I usually get flamed to death if I pick her. So
I feel like Sparrow, like, it's not like completely like unplayable. I just feel like it requires like a specific comp, and also like teams that perfectly have played together in terms of synergy, because you need like a lot of peeling. Like you said, you can't make Sparrow work by itself. And I feel like the level of the team are not there here to take advantage of a basically carry that is like just, I do a lot of damage, but I need to be protected. Like, we're not at the level that team can actually like set up like good situation for the Sparrow to deal a lot of damage and also like protect the Sparrow from the bad situation. So I wonder if it's really like the pick is actually like complete garbage, or is it just like a pick that requires like teams to grow up a little bit in terms of level. To be fair, they can actually like fully utilize the pick. In that regard, like maybe FaZe will help her, but I still think like we're still like probably like still quite a long while until they actually like manage to utilize that pick. There is like something that is interesting that we can compare a little bit with the PCC from like the back time. Right. Is like in the PC there were like two picks that were like 100%, which was like the Rampage and the Gideon. And here, like we can say, the Gideon is not like as prioritized, like it's still like super highly, but not every single game. The pick that was like getting through every single time was the Sevrog on the NA scene, where here we can see like 50% ban, like EU people hate front lines. Like 56% ban on Rampage, 50% on Sevrog. And also that's something that we kind of see is, I feel like on EU, like on NA, I remember like I think the top ban rate was probably Howitzer at 42%. Like in EU, like that doesn't care. Like they have the strategy, everyone is doing the same thing. Like we ban Rampage, we ban Sevrog most of the time, and we're kind of fine. And then we have a little bit of everything. And I don't really see like any like really specific target ban, where like I think one of the biggest offender like on the PCC was like the Calorie being picked quite a lot because there is a lot of strong Calorie player like Seismic, Six, Nitro, and here we can see like Calorie got picked like one game, nobody banned it, and so like in EU we're still on the trend that well we don't play Calorie. It feels like, even though when I discuss with the player, like people starting to say like yeah, but Calorie is actually a very strong jungle, but when the tournament arrived, like nobody played Calorie, so I'm a bit surprised by that result.
I mean, she's a champion that requires a very specific kind of play in a very specific time frame, and if she doesn't get ahead, it's a 4v5. Like, there's no way around it. It's a 4v. If you don't play Kalari perfectly, it's a 4v5, and even then, a lot of the time, you're on a 20-minute timer because you could be 10-0 on Kalari. 25 minutes rolls around, another champion in the game gets 2 items, and that person's just as strong as you are, and that's just how it is, right? Like. So it's kind of one of those like extremely high risk, okay reward situations, and it's not entirely worth it. I prefer picking characters that are more well-rounded and more versatile so I can adapt in my game more frequently than something where it's like, I need to do this one thing, and if I don't do it well, then I'm going to have a miserable 25 minutes of my life.
True. Also, like another thing that was like actually like different is like the Muriel. Like, didn't get to see a single game in the PCC. Here we see the Muriel like pick actually like 6 game out of the 18 game. So mainly like it was Immune. Immune like played like Muriel 4 times. And like apparently like Team Immune like really like the Muriel, trying to revive her, putting her into the meta when like most people just go like for either Bellica or Decker as a support, and sometimes they go for a little bit of steal. But here like Team Immune like showing the Muriel, and Team Immune almost got 100% win rate on every single tournament, but they still like perform like super well on the pick, which was interesting to see. To finally see Muriel actually being played, because like in the PCC like nobody cares. So maybe in EU we have this Muriel thing, like where in NA they have this Kalari thing. I guess it'll be
Muriel
different.
is really good if you don't really have a front line, right? So it makes up for the lack of front line that you have. Which, because of the shield, it makes you like obviously a bit tankier, right? So it's also something that you say, okay, we're lacking in front line because like everything got picked or banned. Okay, put in a Muriel there, so at least you have more survivability up front, right? That's why I think Muriel is really good in these really squishy comps, where she enables a lot of these carries and also the frontliners that need like a Crux or per se, or like a Crunch to help them out.
And one other thing is that we're seeing is I think because the PCC and Fangbooth were far enough apart. I honestly forget when we had our last event. I believe it was.
I think it was like 2 weeks apart between the 2 events.
Yeah, there was a patch, but to follow up my other point is that the game's small. There's not a very large roster, and the competitive community is always playing, always scrimming, always trying to find a way around it. So it becomes that game of constant rock, paper, scissors of, okay, well, 2 weeks ago, Muriel was garbage. And now people are starting to try and find something else, maybe to try and counter the current meta, or something else to do. And they go, wait, this isn't so bad. They pick up one other champion and then another champion. Next thing you know, now we have primarily squishy comps that Muriel can favor into. And now suddenly, Muriel 2 weeks later is... I heard it last week before Morgash came out. A lot of people are speculating that Muriel's actually in a very, very strong spot right now, when the general community was saying, no, she's actually still bad. And so now, like the idea around her is, no, she is becoming in favor again. Nothing's really changed all that much around Muriel. It's just people are constantly trying to figure out something new to do with the 25 champions that we have. So when someone does something slightly different, then it allows something else slightly different to fill up that vacuum, right?
Yeah. I really like Bo's point, like the fact that the lack of frontline because of the way like EU team kind of banned them, and also like I think also like once again like this Kalari not being there to pick up the Muriel makes like everything like easier for her to just leave. Also we see that the Revenant is not really like a big prior pick in EU. Mostly like we're looking at Murdoch, Drongo, Kira got picked quite a lot, so like EU team like really liking the Kira here. And also like I feel like Revenant is a good way to shut down the Muriel. You just go for the Reckoning, you kill the Muriel. And so here it is like very important that you see that it's like the context, the environment that make like some pick like playable and sometimes like uber strong and sometimes like completely like garbage, depending on what there is and what the team are prioritizing. Especially like here, we can see like the Richter. I feel like since the buff on his jungle clear, like Richter is the de facto like jungle after Rampage. Like a lot of teams are prioritizing him. You have a good control of like the potential Gideon pick. You also deny a lot of the possibility of the Crunch pick also, because Crunch is still super strong. But if you have a Richter, and so I felt like it was really like the pick to fight for in this Fangbooth tournament.
Yeah, Richter getting the buff that he did was quite egregious, you could say. And then he offers so much. Like with Richter, you don't want to be getting the kills. You want to just walk in, apply your CC, and then hopefully your carry can pick it up, kind of thing. But now him being a viable jungle and having like a lot of really strong jungle clear puts it in such a strong position where you have ability reliant champions like Crunch. You just don't really get to play it. Like simple as that kind of thing, right?
I think that Richter as well, like playing in support, he's kind of lackluster, I would say. I don't think he's the best at the moment in support, but also it's so hard to balance this guy in support role, because if you tune him up a little bit too much, he's like super broken like he was a couple of months ago, and he's going to be picked every single game, and now they kind of nerfed him there where he's kind of not good. So I think in the jungle, of course, he has a lot more priority, but in certain situations, obviously, he's still good in support. And I also, by the way, we saw him getting flex picked in mid by MT. Just saying. Oh. I know that he really enjoyed it. So
don't remind me of that match, please.
I don't know. It's a flex pick now, so.
I'm assuming they won, but how did MT do on mid Richter?
Well, it was so weird because like MT picked Richter as the mid laner of Team Immune, but then he go into the off lane because they picked Bellica in the mid lane against Lober's Angel, but Purple Swan kind of knew that MT was probably going to switch, so he also switched. So we see like Purple Swan on the Bellica on the off lane against the Richter, supposed to get completely destroyed. But Purple Swan overextend a little bit and got hook under tower, then body block, and MT got the first blood of the game. Like, it was... and in the end, they kind of switched back. Putting like Tank was on gadget, so then Tank like go back to the offlane, MT go back to the mid lane. To be fair, like nothing really happened in the mid lane. Then MT was just like present in the fight because like the central position of the Richter. I really don't know what was the idea there. It was like so weird and so wrong on so many points, but it still worked out in the end, I feel like.
Right.
So looking at that, like the Richter actually like winning that match, like we can move out into the win rate of the characters. And we do have like no 100% win rate like we got from the PCC like last thing, but there is still like one win rate that I still can't get my around it. It's like the Decker win rate. Like Decker is like considered by a lot of people like to be insanely strong, like the best support you can have. She's amazing, flex picks everywhere. But in the PCC, it was 24% win rate. Here we're closer to 50% at 40%. But once again, I can't help myself of thinking like, are the team not like maybe prioritizing like the Decker draft way too early, because it still like show that it's not like something that actually like helps you winning the game most of the time.
Right. I mean, that's an interesting number to see, because I consider Decker as someone who has the perfect kit. Like what a champion who you could describe as the perfect kit. She's offered so much mobility, crowd control, zoning tools, and she can just do things, build any way as you want, and will still be viable. To come out with that kit and then get a 40% win rate, for me that just says like user error, more like something's going on there kind of thing. I don't know exactly what that would be. Belgian, you might have an idea.
I don't know. I think Decker at the moment is like I really enjoy Decker having in my team. I wouldn't want any other support. Like if there was any support, I would always go for Decker. Why? Because of the CC, right? Also, the CC follow-up is kind of easy. Yeah, it might be hard to hit Decker stun, but once, let's just say somebody hits a Bellica stun into a Decker stun into a Decker ult, like that's almost like 4 or 5 seconds that this guy can't play the game.
Right.
I think Decker is really strong in that sense, and that's why she's proficient over any other. It's just the CC. I think she's a CC monster, and CC wins games.
And you
It's
could take
sad to
Rift
say.
Walkers on her and pull a tech.
Yeah, and
into,
do, like a
I'm the
fleshy.
engage kind of.
Yeah, I don't know. I've seen Ray like pull out like a 5-man Rift Walker engage into a stun, into an ult, and just win the entire fight. Like it's.
Yep. It's crazy. You don't expect
So
Decker to
correct.
run in the enemy team like that with reckless
Yeah,
advantage.
and she deals damage.
Yep.
Yeah.
She deals damage. I'm sorry, but how many times have I played against a Decker where she goes Dynamo into Tainted, and she does her entire combo, and I'm like 25% health left?
You're like, how?
Yeah. Well, what am I supposed to do? So I just think the champion is really strong at the moment, and I don't know why she has such a low win rate. But
Well, I fully agree about the part that she's like super strong, and I think you should like see her pick like every single game. It's just I wonder, is she really like first pick material or second pick material? Like that's maybe like where the win rate can comes up, and maybe like by going like for this Decker super early, that you kind of consider like a core pick of your team. You maybe like let the Victor go away. You maybe let the Bellica go away, and that's maybe like where like here we can see that the Decker is maybe causing a little bit of issue, because I think Decker is a very strong choice, but maybe you shouldn't like. In a sense, it's kind of weird because like you don't have the impression to weaken your draft. So I will see if does this trend continue in the future tournament, because also like it's a small data sample, so we can't like take like definite like result of that, but it's still interesting. Like for instance, like the 44% win rate on the Sevrog, I think it comes mainly from the fact that Vision had a plan against the Sevrog, and they definitely like left it open to kind of beat it. And here we can see like I think that's the reason why Sevrog is not reaching like this 50% mark, because a team that actually performed well in the tournament was targeting the Sevrog, and they actually like quite get there successfully. Another interesting stat here is like the 17% win rate on Drongo. Like I kind of want to hear like your take on that, and maybe you, Jack, because I know that on NA like Drongo is like the holy grail of the carry, and here like it didn't work in the EU tournament.
I think Drongo is, like I said, I haven't played in a little while, but I think Murdoch is becoming kind of the everyone's favorite just because he does a lot. He has a lot to him. I heard Buckshot was quite strong this last over the last little while, and that's kind of really helped him get to where he is. But Drongo is just a safe pick. Like if you need someone who has peel, someone who can offer some sort of crowd control as a carry beyond the landmines, you take Drongo, right? Like Drongo Richter it's like the gag order lane where you're just gonna make sure no one ever casts an ability ever again, and then when someone gets close to you, you have the CC immunity off your ultimate that lets you create space, and I believe it knocks people back as well a little bit.
A little bit.
So that with like rad rounds and all these other things, and also the buff to Drongo's gas grenade a little while ago allows him to do an insanely large amount of damage to objectives. Like when the change first happened, you're able to do 3,000 damage to Orb Prime with one grenade. And if you built a little bit of cooldown, you can get more than one out in a fight, right? And that's a quarter of that of the objective's health at that point. So like there's a lot of utility there, and that's one of the reasons why people in NA liked him so much, is because he just had a lot to him. I'm not too sure if EU is using him a little differently, but I think he might be a little more of a niche pick right now in favor of other champions. Like if we look at Kira right now, she's picked half the games, but was able to win 20% more of those games than she was picked in. Sort of, if that stat makes sense, right? Like
it's
she
matchup
won
related.
70% of the games that she was in, and she was only picked for half of them.
Yeah, I think it's really matchup related, and with Drongo, I think in Akira she's a fine pick, but if you put Drongo against the Murdoch, which we saw, I think quite a bit in the Fangbooth, like I think Murdoch is just a way better champ. Why? Because he deals more damage.
Right? Like,
yeah, and it's also the builds that I saw on him. It's like I really do not rate crit Drongo anymore at the moment, because I think if you face like Murdoch, who really scales really well off of crit.
right.
Like you're just gonna get out damaged. I think like the on-hit Drongo or like the pen Drongo is the one you're gonna go for, because if you go pen Drongo and you just blow up squishies, right? You blow up squishies because also with your ult deals a lot more damage. But it's more matchup related. I think in Akira she's fine. Into Rev, I don't know really Rev. I think against Rev it's like more Rev favorite of course as well.
Right.
On the side of Rev, it really depends on the support you have, because like one way that Drongo can just win against Rev is just like having the lane control. Like Rev in that sense really needs a support that really like pressure the wave with him, because it's not like with his 4-shot then like forever reload and Obiter that is going to clear any waves. So that could be like one of the issue here. But like you mentioned something like about the fact that he's very strong against Squishy, like on the side of Drongo, and we're in meta when like 50% of the game Save Rogue and Rampage are banned. So naturally, like we should see like Drongo to be like a very good solution, and it feels like I agree, like Drongo have his strengths, but I feel like it's a little bit overrated overall. Like he's super safe, like you can never get on him, but as a damage dealer, it's not scaling as strongly as the other carries, so you can't really like rely on him as like pure damage dealer. It's a bully in lane, but you need to get ahead with him early, or you're gonna fall off in the later stage of the game compared to the other carry. And I also feel like the main thing that the Drongo is bringing to a team is the gag grenade. And you mentioned that like Jack, like it's really like the kill lane with the Rictor means that you can take like good use of the gag grenade, which was like very strong. But in the current meta, like the support in the lane don't really like provide like that much like synergy with the gag grenade. And sometimes I see team that just pick the Drongo without like very like super strong target in the enemy team. Like we remember Rictor is pick almost every single game, so we don't see like those crunch pick anymore that often. So like the Drongo gag grenade is super strong against crunch, but sometimes it's not there. And I feel like you also need like abilities to set up your gag grenade. So yeah, I feel like Drongo is still like super relevant, but maybe like teams kind of fall up to the trap that, oh, Drongo is good, like full stop, where Drongo is good in certain situation and in certain case, and maybe that can explain a little bit like the win rate here when we see that Kira was prioritized on a lot of other team and Murdoch, and they actually like I think those win rate got inflated because of the bad win rate on Drongo.
Yeah, I think right now, if you're to ever pick a carry in Predecessor, this person is good full stop. No matter the situation, it's going to be Murdoch, because he's just that kind of well-rounded pick. He can do a little bit of everything, and his ultimate can pick kills up from across the map, right? I don't see a situation where Murdoch is ever like, it's like, oh, this person's really strong right now, but I can't play them. I guess I'll go Murdoch. Is kind of the situation you hear around, right? Which just makes him good all the way around.
Like he has so much survivability as well. Like his traps. Like I think we've all played a melee character into a Murdoch. Like him dancing around his traps, and then you try to get close to him. Oh, he buckshots you away. Haha. And then he has his E with his movement speed. Yeah, it's so strong. But I think Murdoch though gets outclassed by Kira at the moment. Maybe a hot take, but I think Kira at the moment is like probably the strongest carry. They're all like pretty close to each other. Right. But I would prefer Kira more than Murdoch at the moment. And then again, it's all matchup related. I feel like also with what support you have.
Yeah. It's in the end of the day, it's a team game with a 5v5, so you have to consider the whole comp. I think like the last little take we can take from that slide is, thank God I feel like we're living in a normal world in EU where Narbash, Krugs, Faye, and Contest have 0% win rate. So please don't pick those characters in competitive. Like don't do the same thing as Crazy Fool that just go Narbash and then get 26 assists in a game. I don't think it should be working. But yeah, here this is how normal, like this well calculated, like
everything is okay.
Yeah, exactly. So
I mean, I think Narbash has his uses. I see a lot of people say that he's a really weak early game champion, but I think one of the problems with champions like Narbash, where they have healing auras, is that you're not seeing the direct impact of those champions. The amount of times I see a Narbash on the team and it's like, oh my God, that guy just lived with 1 HP. That's Narbash doing that, right? And he's able to provide that move speed, that peel, and when played correctly and when built correctly, you'll see a lot of those, oh my God, he lived with 1 HP. How did he do that? It's because you have the Narbash. And people don't consider that. And whereas something I noticed personally and you'll see me going as a Narbash, and I'll be pulling my hair out, and everyone's like, "Why? It's just a Narbash." And I'm like, "He keeps on getting away because of the Narbash."
Yeah.
So,
but yeah, here in the meta, with like I feel like with Rictor, Decker, Belica in every single game, it's very very hard to pull off. So also once again, we come back to the idea of what is in the field and what you can like get around, like this rock paper scissors we're talking about.
Right.
Let's move on here on the next slide. And here we have like a little bit of stats on all the teams, on like main like information. So we have the teams that are like being placed on their like result in the tournament. So Immune was the first, Vision second, Lopers Angel third, and so forth. And we have like all the data here. We have the K, which the kill, death, assist, the KDA, like average KDA in the team, kill participation, average kill participation on the team of every single character, the amount of gold, and the ward. And all those stats are like, except KDA and kill participation, which is like a general stat, are like per 10 minutes of games overall. And we have objective and structures, which is basically a ratio. So for instance, we see that Team Immune has a 3.0 objective ratio, which means that they get like 3 times more objective than the other team they played against. And so overall, like there's like one stat I kind of like on that table. It's Lightning Coke with the most deaths per 10 minutes of all the tournament, which really fit their playstyle. I feel like it's just pressing W all the time. But they're also like the second kill team in the team, like even getting like more kills per 10 minutes than Immune, which is impressive, I feel like.
Well, I think that's a lot to do with like Immune plays a slower game. Immune like effectively doesn't play with the other team for the first 10 minutes of the game, right? Like they're just doing their own thing, and that's what they care about. They're not really interacting with other people. Whereas we have a team like Lightning Code where it's just like, I'm gonna WQ your jungle at level 1, and then level 2, and then level 2 again, and level 3, and again, and I'm just fighting because I want to now.
Yeah.
You're gonna start seeing like a lot of inflated stats against a team that's just like, they're farming, they're looking at macro. Like we were talking earlier, it's their macro game that matters. They have the highest KP out of the entire tournament, the highest ward score, and the highest objective, and the highest structure, right? So they're just looking at playing that kind of game. They're not worried about, really dealing with the other team at all on anyone's time. So I think the story is, if the teams in the EU are able to start like leveling up and increasing their general skill and synergy with each other, you start dismantling Immune in the early game. You start doing things that they have no idea how to react to. You start forcing them to learn how to play early, and then you might have a chance for that mid to late, right?
Yeah.
You start playing like NA.
maybe. Like I think like this ward count is something that I'm very impressed. Like, and I think it kind of explains also like why Immune get like so dominant on term of objective, because like to get objective, vision is key, and you see that they have a lot of wards, and so they can like convert that very very well. And we can see that here we were talking that vision, like their weak game is about objective, and despite finishing like second in the tournament. True, there was a lot of game against Immune, but their objective ratio is actually like negative, like they're under 1, which means that the enemy teams like get more objective than they actually do, despite being the second seed in the tournament. Also, like a little thing is like what I'm really like impressed is like the difference we have in terms of warding of the top 2 team and the rest of the field. Like we have really high like ward number like for Immune and Vision, and then everything else is like below 15, which kind of see that. Also, it's very important if you want to be able to take control of the game to have good vision. And I have to admit here, like I was surprised by the number of dirty leg that is like super duper low compared to everyone else. Like almost half the number of ward of Team Immune. So I would assume like maybe some players on dirty leg like forget they have ward free to be placed on the map. I don't know, but I'm really surprised about that number here, like the 11.4 for dirty leg on ward place. And yeah. Falcon saying like NA doesn't ward confirmed, so that's maybe like why the jungler can just like gank every single time, because like if you don't have vision, like you can just gank and it's free.
Maybe. I find people at higher levels, people will ward in NA, but you won't see a lot of the time. And me as a jungler player, like I'm starting to have to, because people are learning to ward more often. But Sweepers don't matter. Like they're strong, but I don't feel like they matter as much as they could or they should. Just because like a lot of the time, if you're running into a lane on vision, yeah, sure, someone sees you coming, but you can just do it anyways, and it'll work out. Like the map's pretty small. Move speed's a thing, so you can just do it, and they might have a second or two advantage, but by and large, you can still make plays off of it. It doesn't matter that much.
True. Yeah, not much more like to say. I think like on that, like once again, Team Immune managing to go over like the 20,000 gold per 10 minutes, so 2,000 gold per minute. Kind of comforting that it's a very very farm heavy team. It was like also like in the PCC only like Team Immune and Royalty actually managed to get like this level of farming. So it's kind of like maybe an achievement for the teams to try to get there. Lobers Angel getting the reward of being the team that killed the most people per 10 minutes in the tournament. So very well played by them. Still like, as you can see, it's still like very strong player that can manage to make stuff happen. But still like maybe kind of lacking a little bit of practice overall. And you can see it's like also like the kill participation besides the Belgium second choice, like being the second lowest in the tournament, kind of show that all this like sub and stuff like kind of maybe hurt a little bit their synergy overall as a team.
Yeah.
Then we can enter a little bit like the comparison between like all the players. So all the stats here, once again, if I go over them, we still have like a kill, death, assist, KDA, which is on the first row of everywhere. And then like we have the kill participation in percentage. If there is like a little asterisk next to the kill participation, it's because I didn't like spend enough time of taking into consideration like all the sub and all of that. So if there is a little asterisk next to the kill participation, is the kill participation of the overall the whole tournament, even counting the game they didn't play. So this stat doesn't mean...
How can you predict the stats of the players when the players don't know what they're doing?
Yeah, so like when there is an asterisk, like it basically means the kill participation is not really relevant in comparison to the other players, but the rest is normally fine. And we see like once again, Nef the Farm King, like over like almost 11 CS per minute during the whole tournament. That's insane. GAK is pretty close, to be fair. Like he's almost at the 10th CS per minute marks. But when we compare to Madeboy and Ink Legend, so it's only like the top 4 team I'm presenting here. Like we can see like there is really like a gap between those two guys on the carry role in terms of farming and the rest of the field. I feel like it's pretty insane.
And
yeah, but it's also Neft. I think Neft as well. I think especially when you play with Immune, they understand that you can give up your 5 camp, you can give up your 3 camp in order to get your laners ahead as well, which I think they enable very well. But also like Neft really focuses a lot on farm, right? You'll see him going for these big waves, and he'll command that as well. Like, yo, I need this big wave because otherwise, if we lose this resources, it's not good. But that it was this like proficient, I didn't know. Like 11 CS a minute, and that is your average stat is insane.
That's near perfect CS.
Yeah, it's over near
literally
perfect.
near perfect.
It's over near perfect because usually the perfect is 10 CS a minute. They're looking for, but being over that is insane.
Yeah.
And then I mean, GAK's able to keep up for the most part, like only having 9 CS difference. But like we're seeing a pretty big gold disparity in the what is it, 1,400 gold difference in there. However, it shows for the carries of the rest of the tournament, like that number gets cut almost in half if you go down to Lightning Coke with Ink Legend, and then Metboy is 75% of what the other two are doing. And for a carry, CS is king, right? Like it doesn't matter. Like you can get kills, sure, those are going to help, but you need to know how to last it. That's where your bread and butter is. If you're behind as a carry, you end up being sidelined for the whole game, just farming until you're able to maybe get enough farm to actually participate in the fights again. So what Metboy and Ink Legend are doing there really is saying a lot to what they're able to do. And the funny thing is that Metboy has a better CS than Ink Legends, but he's pulling 2,000 gold less than the next carry up, right? Which is kind of crazy.
It's the orange number is the hero damage they got.
Oh, their damage. Okay, so
Yeah.
I thought that was gold. No, but for even then, like 2000 damage is not a small number either.
Yeah, it's but yeah, here we can see like Ink Legend. I think like in terms of kills, like it really reflects the Lightning Coke playstyle of going like for damage, like killing people, and also you kind of see in the CS because if you keep your time fighting, you're probably not gonna like farm a lot. So
Yeah.
but
I mean, you have Ando as your support. Like Ando likes the W key a lot, especially when he's playing Richter. He likes to W key,
And you're
and I
forced
love
to
it.
follow up on it, or else he's gonna.
Yeah, you have to. You have to. I play a lot with him, so I would know.
yeah, and
Yeah,
as a
I mean, looking at the supports right now, I guess Mugi.
yeah, we can move on. I don't know if it's a support right after, but yes, it is. And so we have like a Clearcast for Immune, Raven on Vision, Dr. Snoop one for Labo's Angel, and Endo on Lightning Coke. And we can see that Endo has the top kill per 10 minutes of every single support. Like he go for the kill.
He's going in all day long.
And he still also have the top assist rating also, like from all the supports. So like once again, like Lightning Coke, like loving this stat about like killing people.
Clearcast ward score though, that's
insane.
Yeah.
That is insane.
Yeah, I've played a few games with him now, and also in like scrims, and it's kind of insane like how good this guy is at keeping like being consistent at keeping the vision up. He also asked for it, right? Like, come with me to go in for the wars. Obviously, Immune now is so used to it, so they go together. But yeah, it's insane how well he does it, right? And how consistent
and
he
that's
is.
what you need as a support too. Like support can go in clear vision or setup vision, but the proper play is to have someone go with you. That way you can provide that safety and the support to just get in, drop that ward, clear it together, walk away. Like vision control wins games in every MOBA without like full stop, without question. So being able to go in, drop your 3 wards, back, go somewhere else, set them up again, like that. A lot of Immune's game was vision control, and that's part of their, superior macro. But just to see the stat on a piece of paper of 10 wards per minute, like per 10, is pretty crazy. And that's off one player. That's not the team. That's one player.
Yeah. When you put that number like next to the 20 words per 10 minutes that Immune is doing, like half of that is just Clearcast alone. Which means like Clearcast like worth as much as the other 4 guys in his team, like by itself. That's crazy. And sometimes you see like even Clearcast, like his full health, full mana at an objective time, and you see him back. It's because he just wants to refresh the 3 wards he has on the Soulstone to be able to ward even more and keep the vision and denying the vision. So like, yeah, this stat is quite impressive.
Yeah, it's really impressive. Now, especially that I know that he's like a lot for vision. He does a lot for vision, but seeing this stat really, like he's the GOAT in support role.
I'd be curious. Do you know what the PCC, the NA team stats are for ward scores?
I don't really remember, but they were definitely like not as high as that. And also, like I think, like in PCC, like there was like a lot more like destroyed wards. Like people kind of go for the sweepers and playing the carry and all of that. But yeah, I think on the support role, like you can see, like it's almost like 50% ahead in terms of ward of Ravan, which is like the second top in the tournament, which is It's not a small gap.
Crazy.
It's pretty impressive here. But then like Ravan like getting like the 60% kill participation here, the best KDA of all the support in the tournament. So like and I think like Ravan like actually like switched for the support role for Vision. Like he wasn't a support main like before. He actually tried carry, he tried mid lane, but I think he never played support. So for his first like appearance in a tournament playing support, getting like the best KDA out of all the support and very good like overall stats, a 60% kill participation for his team, like it's very impressive.
It's really, really interesting to see how the supports kind of play the game out. And just as a quick side note, like there's no one else in the community right now that's taking time to actually sit down and just crunch numbers like you are right now. And that is really allowing the community and just people in general to see objectively on paper how players are, like How is Immune able to get as far as ahead as they are when the score is only 1-6? It's numbers like that. And if the community was like, if community members like yourself weren't doing that, we wouldn't ever really notice that off the top of our heads, right? This is allowing us to create those stories and understand those things and allow the players to go, okay, well, we know Clearcast is going to ward like crazy, so we need to kind of find ways around that. Maybe that's the like chink in their armor sort of thing that allow us to get through it.
And yeah, maybe they find like an opportunity that, oh, we know that Clearcast love to back on timing objective to get wards. Maybe we have a window of opportunity and just try to abuse that. Like maybe there is like some instant strategy that can appear like that. Moving on onto the mid laners, where we have MT, TSE, Purple Swan, and Manq. And here we can see like Purple Swan, the controller god, getting the most kill per 10 minutes on all the mid laners, while having actually like the lowest hero damage of everyone.
Purple Swan.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Just efficient damage, basically.
But I mean, I think like I said, I think Purple was for me like the flashiest player, also the player I like to watch as well, because like obviously, you know, MT and Asit are just going to be really clean players, right? They farm up, they shove the waves, look for a roam. But I think like if you've ever played against Purple, you know that he's going to be like contesting you a lot and he wants to be in your face. But then again, he has the lowest damage, but he just gets a lot of kills because he is so aggressive. And that's why also, like I said before, he picked the Kira mid. These flashy picks, it's a lot of fun to watch him.
I mean, when you're allowed to have that level of confidence when you get the auto aim of the controller as you do, while also being mechanically inclined, right? So he knows he can just walk in and land 90% of his abilities. He has the macro for it. I'm watching him in chat. I'm waiting for him to get upset.
It's lovely.
Yeah, and MT like kind of close to the 10,000 hero damage per 10 minutes, which is 1,000 damage per minute, but not getting there yet. I wonder who is going to broke like that record. It's kind of impressive, to be fair. And you kind of show like how much like presence he has on the map for Team Immune. Like you don't get those numbers just like trading on the mid lane like 1v1. Like you need to be like in team fights and do a lot of damage in those team fights. On the jungle, we do have like, I use like, once again, like there was like more player playing into those team. Like for instance, Irot was playing for Immune. We got It Play that played from Lightning Coke. I just selected the player that played the most match for those slide. And so this is why like we have the players we have here on display. And so we have Ven on the side of Team Immune, Luga on the side of Vision, the Dark Lord, for Larba's Angel, and It Play. And here we can see like 3 different jungler being favored. We have the Rampage on the side of Ven, a Richter on the side of Luga, and the Camera on the side of Dark Lord and Smart Monkey. And I feel like it's kind of the people that got to play Camera is kind of got the scrap left. Like those two guys, like they got like the Rampage and the Richter, and then you can take the Camera if you want, basically.
Yeah, here you go. Here's a jungler, I guess, kind of thing, right? Like,
yeah, so Luga.
Isn't Luga for Ronan?
Luga is for Vision, I think. Or maybe Llama.
Llama is
yeah,
for
sorry,
Vision.
my mistake.
Yeah.
My mistake.
No
so we kind of find a mistake here. Thank you. My mistake for Team Vision, and good job, This Belgian, catching it. And yeah, so we see that Llama getting like also like the 59% kill participation, very close to what Raven has done. Like the two players that are supposed to create chances for the team actually like making them happen. Very, very well played. And we see that the Dark Lord is apparently like playing like more aggressive type of jungler because his hero damage is much, much higher than the other people. Also, I think we've seen Dark Lord that maybe like, I think one game he was playing like a Sky Splitter Camera, so really going for aggressive play style. Where in EU, most of the people are kind of playing like a more like slow-paced, tanky type of jungler, where in NA, like those numbers was like all over the place on the PCC.
Yeah, junglers, like, that's where I say, like, junglers need to be bruisers most of the time. Just the kit allows you to do damage, have some sustainability, and there's usually some sort of movement ability or CC ability associated with the class type. Chimera does fit into that, but if you build Chimera full damage, you get ahead, yeah, sure, but it's the same problem. You hit that 20-minute mark, someone's just going to blow you up. It doesn't matter how much damage you do. You can't do damage if you're dead. And that is, one of the stories of that one. So favoring champions that allow you to get a little bit of health and a little bit of defense so you can just, survive as long as you need to is really where the jungle kind of thrives, in my opinion. And that's what I like to see in the roles I like to pick. I don't typically go assassins for those reasons.
And finishing with the last role, we have the offlane with Tank on Team Immune, Nisa on Vision, Cautionary Tales on Lauber's Angel, and Moros on Lightning Coke. And we see that once again, like we have a player from Lightning Coke that got the most kill per 10 minutes. It's Moros, W key god on the offlane, and also like dealing like the most hero damage out of all the offlaners there. Like he played mainly like Crunch and maybe only Crunch in tournament, but apparently it's kind of working for himself.
Yeah, he plays either Crux or Crunch, right? So he plays 2 aggressive characters, which are lane police. So I expect him to be up there. But especially with his playstyle and considering that Lightning Coke's just W keying in, it's kind of impressive, yeah.
And
it's interesting that Crunch actually gets just like Chimera got last pick. He owned half the most played champions. I believe that's what the icon is for there, right? Like those
it's the most played champion by
So Crunch actually managed to get most played on 2 out of the 4 major offlaners in the tournament, and statistically, right, like Nisa having the most CS by a decent margin, and then Moreau is following up with that one as well. It is something I mean, I'm a crunch enthusiast, so something I like to see.
And also, like, I think there is like an interesting point. Also, is kind of remind me what we've seen on the PCC, which when we were facing like Royalty versus the other offlaners. And here I kind of feel like we see that a little bit of something similar here with when you compare Tank to Nisa. And one thing is like was North actually like sacrificed quite a lot of his farm to be impactful on the map and rotate a little bit. And here we can see that Tank, in terms of kill participation, is at 51%, where Nisa is only at 39%. And on the farm, like it's only like 77 CS against a 92. And so here, like I kind of feel like we find out again, like we said that Tank was on losing matchup, so a little bit of the CS come from that, but it's still like impacting the map like very well, and you see that his KDA like having like an impact on the map on the kills is actually like very, very, very high. And I kind of feel like on Predecessor, especially like on the patch they were playing, I don't know if he kind of changed now that objective and structures don't give like global experience anymore.
Right.
Like we have to see what that happened, but on that patch there was still that global experience. And like I really felt like it was like the way to play. Like your offlaners need to impact those objective fights, those towers being taken early in the game, and I feel like Immune was still doing that. Where like on the stats it feels like Nisa was still like destroying his lane, but not maybe converting so much of his like lead into the rest of the map. So
yeah, I was gonna say, I mean, like Sevarog. So like I say it every time I'm on a stream, and people are probably gonna start making a meme out of it. But one of the things I like about Sevarog is that people don't realize his team fight pressure capabilities are as strong as they are. They're just like, he's a stack champion. I need my stacks, and that is true. However, if you forego the odd CS here and there at the right times, you can impact a team fight really, really heavily. You have a very long range route, which allows you to just isolate some target, more like an AoE route at range to isolate targets quite effectively. And then on top of that, you just get in and you can just insect someone back into the team, or you have peel, or just like be that giant Razorback meat wall that like a Rampage can do, but with more like kind of versatility around that fight. And that alone can do a lot. Like once Sevarog rolls into a team fight, it is quite threatening. It's just you don't see it that often, like as much as you could.
It's really scary, right, as well, when you see a Sev all of a sudden turning up into a team fight. I think who are you going to be more afraid of? Are you going to be more afraid of a Sev or of a Crunch? Of course, Crunch has the damage, but rolling up, like seeing a Sev rolling up in a team fight is a lot more impressive, I feel like. And he can also do a lot more in team fights just because of sustainability, right? But coming from Tang, like being able to get this KP, it's also, again, I guess the wave management and being on point with the macro, what the team wants, right? Like calling out like, hey, we're gonna, like in a minute we're gonna go for this this objective, we're gonna go for a Fang, like, yo, hey, push up the wave, put it on, make it crash under your tower, go for a reset for the Fang. It comes a lot with the macro play that Immune just has, right?
Yeah, that definitely seems to be the case on that one. What do you think, Mugi?
Well, it's I really like saying that that's a playstyle that team will need to embrace. I feel like offlane island is not really offlane island in Predecessor simply because, like, I think in League or in Smite, from what I remember, is that you can just farm and then you just like this monster that can't be killed in team fight. And here we see like we have Crunch on the offlane being picked by a lot of people, and you're gonna fall off in the late game in Predecessor. Like bruisers are not that strong, so really need to make your impact being noted here. We will be able to move to the last data slide, I think, which is like the items. And thank God we don't have Tainted Guard being picked up like 46 times like it was on the PCC because the bug wasn't fixed. No, Tainted Guard is only like picked 20 times on the much more like LC number. And like the top pick item is the Crest Liberator with 33. So I feel like it's like a much more LC number than 46. Overall, it's also like been on 18 games. So one more game than on the PCC if people are interested in comparing like those stats. And yeah, it's also like a crest, which I assume like the crest will see quite a lot of shuffling around like for the future edition due to the last patch that just heard that changed like all the data on the crest. So you have to keep in mind it was like on the previous patch because it was played like last Saturday and Sunday where there wasn't like all these changes that actually happened. Just from the diagram, like do you have anything that kind of catch your eyes, both of you?
I'm surprised the Galaxy Greaves wasn't as strong.
Yeah,
it wasn't as picked as frequently as I do see it in my games, especially when it got its little buff. I started playing like Galaxy Greaves Jungle Grux or like things like that.
Really?
And, it was quite funny when you see one of your friends and you're in the Prime Pit and you just Galaxy Greaves over the wall at them after they've blinked out thinking they're safe. And then they try and walk away. And then you blink after them and they stand there for half a second being confused before they start pressing buttons again. But it's, I mean, I got the idea from Ray on his Galaxy Greaves Riftwalker Rux support when I saw him just Falcon Punch and Hero Dive straight into the enemy team on that one. So I can thank EU for that one.
That sounds fun to play.
I think Tainted is just the Tainted Scepter, in my opinion, is just a really broken item at the moment. Just like picking, I never thought that like a Tainted item should be picked up first or second, but in a lot of cases you will see it now. And it just goes how good the stats are on the item and the passive as well, right? Getting that true damage from it.
Cost effective, right? It's a cost effective item and it applies damage. It applies like, it's kind of interesting because the item that is Combustion, where it has that kind of burst passive on it, that burst passive is also on Megacosm, it's also on Oblivion Crown, and it's on Tainted Scepter as well. There's a form of it, and there's also enough sustained champions in the game where buying that early Tainted or buying a Tainted Guard and a Scepter in general is just useful, right? Like so many champions can use it, Decker being a big one of them too.
And I think like another thing that we can take out of that slide is I feel like maybe it kind of shows a story that probably like Mage and Carry kind of like a little bit of item diversity, especially Mage. Like you can see like on the top 10, we have Tainted Scepter, we have Megacosm, we have Combustion, we have Azure Core, we have Rest Legging, which means that probably like most Mage in the game are just building those items almost every single game. And also like the Epoch. So it's kind of felt like the mage build is kind of locked down. When the carry, we kind of have like similar but less like as strong with the lightning hawk and the imperator. And we also see like a lot of option on the carry side. Like on the side we have the dust devil with the demon edge, we have resolution. None of that get picked at all. So maybe like there is like still like a little like balance, or maybe like a lack of character that I can utilize those items. But I feel like maybe like especially on the caster role, like everyone's just building the same thing, it feels like most of the time. So there is like, it's a bit sad because like there is like a lot of options that are not like really like open for them.
I don't know if Belgian has a point. He's feel free to cut me off, but like I think like I just said, Megacosm, Tainted, and Combustion share the same burst passive. There's a form of it, so those items just synergize extremely well together, and they all scale off your AP. So that makes sense, right? When you're doing a quarter of health in someone's damage off of a burst passive of 3 separate items before the actual stats even kick in, or your own stats kick in, that says a lot. But looking at items where they weren't picked at all, like Demon's Edge, which is the AD Omnivamp, the AD version of Oblivion Crown, it's good, but a lot of people who build just AD or would use that item need ability haste instead. The Omnivamp is strong, but if I can't use abilities, then it's not really doing me any favors. And a lot of champions who would buy that are also needing to buy stats for health and defenses. So the lack of health and the lack of defenses kind of make the Omnivamp and the lack of ability haste on it not really viable. I'm surprised Time Warp wasn't picked up at all for the tournament, but then you see items like Magnify, where there's no champions in the game that could really use Magnify right now. We're waiting for those champions to come in order for those items to be viable or even useful. And I think you'll see a lot of like items in this game have that kind of effect. It's made for someone who doesn't necessarily exist yet.
True. And I definitely hope that we will get like with the new patch, like we see that there is like 5 crests like that never get picked, and 8 crests in total that is picked that 1 or less time. So I hope like the new patch will actually like shake stuff around in the competitive scene. Because like I feel like that's a big part of the game. Like it's this quest choice that can really like impact the direction of where your team is going and can really adapt to the composition. But we still like not like fully realizing this fantasy so far. So I really hope like I didn't get a lot of chance to actually practice on the new patch, but I hope like in the future tournament we have like a lot more diversity in terms of the quest being picked up.
I mean, Liberator by far and none. There's no reason to pick any other crest in the game for ADCs when you think about it. Like, some people make cases for Eviscerator, but Liberator gives you it cleanses you and gives you a massive shield that allows your like healing and sustain to kick in after that, right? That alone, and it is not a small shield. Like, I don't know what the stats on it are just now, but in my head visually, like I see half a health bar worth of shield sometimes. And it's just like, okay, I guess that's cool.
It scales off your physical damage, right? So the more you have, but I think now, I think now with the crest change, I think Witch Stalker as well on ADC is with the pen and the Omnivamp that you get is also a pretty good pickup. I think Brutal Axe as well, but I would prefer the Witch Stalker. But yeah, the new patch definitely interesting. I still think Razorback is super broken. I do not enjoy it at all. We'll see. I hope they change it a bit. They tune it down a little bit so it makes it up that you can go War Boots or Sapphire's Mantle a bit more.
Sapphire. What's Sapphire's Mantle like?
He's on the 15-18. He got picked quite a lot actually.
I think it was Llama.
Right now, because I think it was mentioned in the patch notes, right? Like, what's it going into?
I think it's an Assault now, like where it just makes you very big, because I got a bit confused when I saw it yesterday because I didn't know what was going on, and all of a sudden I see a champion just getting really big. It makes you bigger, and it also gives you health, and it also gives you permanent health if I don't...
Yeah, if you deal a bit of damage around you, like for a certain amount of time, I think, and based on the damage you do, you're gonna get permanent health out of it, if I remember correctly.
If I remember correctly, it does... It's an AoE damage, like a AoE dot damage, and then that is like 20. I think it's 20% of the damage you deal, which is true damage, and it's basically Brimstone and Fire Blossom, but it does true damage, and then it actually gives you 20% of that damage you dealt as maximum health back.
Maximum health, yeah.
Right? So I think that's like, it could fill Razorback's spot, but I do agree with you, like 50% true damage reflection is pretty hefty. That's not a small number. Like, that's a lot.
They change it to 20%, but no, it's pre-mitigation. So overall, like, you deal a little bit less damage, but it's like super noticeable. And actually, if they don't build, like, if they used to build defense like previously, like, it actually deal more damage now, and it's like on 6 seconds instead of 4 second duration. Right. And you also like have increased like physical defense and magical defense from it. So yeah, Razorback is super strong. Let's say it like that way, like after the patch.
It's strong.
Yeah, and it was still like very strong in the tournament. We see that the crest after Liberator, like the most favored at 24 like occurrences. But yeah, very interesting. Like, kind of extracted a little bit of information out of the data. We will move into like the little trivia rewards that I kind of like to attribute to players, which will be like the last bit of data in this presentation for tonight, or like afternoon, I guess. If we're like in other parts of the world, I have to always think about that. And
it's 4 o'clock here. I still got dinner to have.
Yeah. And we have the lighthouse that this time is actually it's for Clearcast, like another mistake. Like, as you can see, like, I'm a bit tired with the presentation. Ray didn't play in that tournament.
I was so excited thinking that like Ray, like we were talking Clearcast so good, and it turns out Ray was the guy who warded the most. Like,
yeah,
I was super excited to talk about this.
Yeah, I guess I got confused with Clearcast changing his name from Samwise in the finals, and then like I didn't know like what name I should put there, because like all around, like actually Ray's an alternative account of Clearcast. We all know that. No, jokings aside, it's just like Clearcast that got 46 ward in one game, which is quite a lot. We've seen like the numbers. It kind of makes sense that it's Clearcast that is getting that information. And here it's interesting, like for the Bestie Awards, like 4 people actually got like the same number of best assists in the tournament. We got like Hitplay, Manq, Nitro, and Raven, and we got like 2 players from the Lightning Coke team, like the team that loves to just press W and get there. Current, like, what is like surprising, I think, like in the PCC, like this number was 26 from Crazy Fool. Mm-hmm. So here we only have 16 assists. The farmer, I don't know, like there is like any surprise here, is Neft with like 1 game at 433 CS. And here I was surprised that actually see that Ven got like 14 wards destroy on the Fengmao in 1 game, getting like the Infiltrator reward, where like in the PCC, like the top like value was 11 wards by 6 on the Calari. And Calari like is super strong at just destroying wards because of the Shadow Walk. And here we see that Ven like managed to like even go like further ahead, probably because like of the long games that we've seen also in the tournament. Like it's a value in 1 game, right. So it's kind of to happen. The serial killer Neft ripping like 14 kills in 1 game, and this time the false friends go for Dr. Snoop playing Howitzer support, which kind of makes sense that he has the highest number of CS for any support in 1 game, with 48 CS being stolen out of his carry with absolutely no shame given. So yeah, we're reaching.
No, you go ahead.
So we're reaching like a little bit like the end of the talk here. So what are like the future event, I think, and yeah, I will let you take away a little bit, Jack, to do your promotion on the PCC that I'm sure like a lot of team will be happy to hear about.
So you guys already know, because those who know, they know, the PCC is happening on June 3rd for our group stage event. We are very, very close to getting to the 16 team cap. I believe there's only 4 spots left. So you guys might want to, grab your buddies and join in and see if you can compete with basically most of the community. It'd be nice to see some EU teams hop the pond, because I know Immune isn't. I'm not too sure if Immune's doing it this time. I'm sure Empty can correct me in chat in just a second here. But join up, sign up, have fun. It is something that we do for the community. We're just really trying to do what we can to give back and facilitate something for the community. We're not too worried about prize pools. We're not too worried about we're worried about being flashy because we the graphics very nice, it's very pretty, it's very clean. We like to present well, but we're not worried about being the cool kids on the block. We just want to have something for the community and make a good product that everyone can enjoy and participate in and help build the community together. And that's kind of like our main goal. And I know FTC is kind of on the same page, which is one of the reasons why we've been talking. Canna has helped run one of our events, and now we're helping run FTC as well. So just people are working together and allowing the community to grow. But make sure you guys check out the group stages. If you have your team, if you don't have a team, get one. We can try and help you look if you need it, and we're excited to see you there. It's the first time we're going to have FaZe and Moragesh in the event because they would have had enough time for usually we ask for a balance patch before we allow the comp players to play them, and that has happened for both of them. So that'll be interesting to see how the scrims go and how the meta shifts up in that one.
Very nice. I'm not sure if I heard about it, but until when the signups are open for team to join? If you know the...
Pardon? Repeat that?
Until when the signups are open for team to join? Because I think there is a date that
signups are closing on the 24th, and then the group stage reveal should be happening that weekend. But fingers crossed for us that we can get all 16 teams in before that. Last event, it was a bit of a scramble where we had 10 teams sign up on the Friday before the event closed, with one of them getting in at 12:01 was the 16th team, and then after that we had 2 more teams sign up at 12:02 and 12:03, and they had to get waitlisted. But avoid the waitlist if you can, guys.
That's really important. Like you said, if you have your team, just go for it. No risk of waitlist, and you can be sure that we'll probably have also meta talk on those events because of course I love stats, I love analyzing this top competitive game. So probably be sure to tune in at that moment. Talking about Mugi's PrimeTime, also take the advantage to present what will be the next Mugi's PrimeTime. So next week, Friday, same time, we will have first a new show with Import, one of Omeda's team member, that will come discuss with me about about Omeda's balance philosophy. So we're gonna to focus about the balance aspect of Predecessor. And on that, I take the chance of having all you guys in the chat, and also you, Jack and Belgium, to if you have any question we would like to ask Import on this topic, feel free to share your question with me. I have set up a channel on my own Discord. I think the FTC just released an announcement when you can get the information on how to get there, so you can share, but you also can send me direct messages on Discord to just get the type of question you would us to ask Import. I think that's an opportunity to have a direct chat with some members of the Omeda team, and I think we will have a great time. So yeah, tune in next week for that. And that being said, we're simply reaching the end of this talk. So you can see on screen appearing all the social media of everyone. We have the PCC, our partners in terms of tournament with the FTC. We have also Belgium Twitch, and we have also my socials. I would like to thank you a lot, Jack and This Belgium, for joining me tonight. It has been a blast discussing all the time about that, and also of accepting to go through all these detailed stats with me, because I know that sometimes I can be over eager, and not everyone is a number guy like me, but I really enjoy my time with you guys. So thank you very much.
Mugi just likes to host this podcast so we can lock people in a room with him and nerd out about stats.
Yeah, exactly.
I love it. I immediately, when you showed it to me, I was like, I love it. It's insane.
Yeah, no, I've had a handful of people when we showed the PDF last time around in the PCC Discord. Everyone's like, "Oh my God, this guy's correct. he's cooking." Let it. So no, you're doing. Someone in the community. There's always that one guy in the community who does it, and it's really appreciated and needs to do it. And You're that guy, Mugi. So
Thank you, and I'm glad that other people are actually liking what I'm doing on that. So it's very nice, and so of course, thank you for everyone in the chat of being there, interacting with us, like listening to what we had to rant about. I hope you also got like all an amazing time with us. And yeah, also like let me know in the chat if people would be interested to get access to this type of presentation, because I can just like share them with everyone. Like it's not like really like hidden knowledge, and so I can probably like find a way on the FTC or on my Discord to just like share it to the community so everyone can get access to those. Thank you everyone. Once again, thank you for my amazing co-caster, and I hope you all have a wonderful like night, afternoon, dinner, depending on whatever you are on the planet. And also like enjoy all like your whole weekend, because like for the people, it's gonna start tonight for most of us. So thank you everyone, and bye bye everyone.